Okay, everyone. Sorry, we know that for whatever reason the live stream is not working. So I'm just going to record what I wanted to speak to us all about this evening. So I want to mix two topics, and the two topics are one topic that we've been speaking about probably now the past 2 weeks, and that's in reference to wisdom. And remember, we had defined wisdom as making sound judgment, making good choices. But the type of wisdom that we're speaking about is not wisdom that comes from this world. It's wisdom that comes from the Lord, and that's what we seek Him for that wisdom. In addition to that, I wanted to continue on with the topic that Pastor Ortiz had brought to us on Sunday, and that was in reference to discouragement. So we're going to tie in discouragement and wisdom, and we'll get to how we do that in just a moment. But first, I think what's important for us to first recognize is that while we're in this world, while we're in these vessels that we have, we are going to have times of discouragement. It's just a reality. It's something that we are going to face. I'm sure everyone that's watching has been discouraged at one time or another. I pray and hope that you're not going through it right now. But if you are, we can listen to again what Pastor Ortiz spoke to us about on Sunday, and a few things that I'm going to speak to us about this evening. And if you're not in a place of discouragement, that's awesome. This is still important for you because you recognize that it's a part of life. These are things that we are going to go through and we have experienced before. So it's important for us to understand how, as believers, how we're supposed to operate when we go through discouragement. So I'm just very loosely and very simply defining discouragement is as basically things not going the way you'd planned or you hoped for or you desired them to be, and it leaves you feeling discouraged. It leaves you not feeling, not energized. What's the word that I'm looking for? It's an E word. I can't think of the word, but it leaves you enthusiastic. It leaves you not having no enthusiasm. And it's usually based on things not going the way you hoped for, you planned for, you desired, and there's many different realms of that. So it's something that we've all gone through. One thing that Pastor Ortiz had mentioned, was not leading from discouragement into deception, and I want to speak specifically about that deception piece. And what I want to talk about is when we go through bouts of discouragement, we can deceive ourselves into thinking if we can aid ourselves by filling the void, by taking care of the heartache, or whatever we're feeling that's making us discouraged, that we can fix that by doing XYZ. And XYZ, outside of course, seeking the Lord and seeking His peace and His comfort and praying it to the Holy Spirit, it's filling it with things, making decisions that will make us feel better temporarily, but in the end can lead to really being a poor decision that we're going to pay the consequences for later. And I'll talk more about that. Our position, of course, should always be that we're seeking the Lord. But I recognize that we know that we're supposed to seek the Lord when we go through bouts of discouragement. But in seeking the God and being in the Word and in worship, what that does is it aids our spirit man. We know that. It aids our spirit man. But it's our flesh that wants to be aided. So instead of concentrating on our spirit and strengthening that and ministering to that, we want to take care of our flesh, and we do so by all of these different things. You guys, of course, have heard of the phrase, someone's having a midlife crisis, right? And what do we define that at? Usually I think ages of 40 to 60, the middle of your life, There could be a sense of, I'm not where I wanted to be in life right now, or I haven't experienced, what I wanted to experience. It's a temporary bout of discouragement. But people usually say someone's going through a midlife crisis because then they'll do these type of bizarre things, like make big purchases, buy a sports car, a motorcycle, a boat. There's all these different things, and those are specifically men. Us men will have a tendency of doing if you can afford it, when going through a midlife crisis, and maybe it might make the person feel more youthful, and it will take away that discouragement. But what does it end up being more times than not? It ends up being a poor decision. So instead of seeking the Lord for his peace and for his encouragement during this time of discouragement, we then instead just make a poor decision that we're going to reap the consequences for later on in our lives. And that's the reality. You guys have heard this before. Retail therapy, right? That's just people just shopping. I'm not feeling so great, so I'm going to shop. It makes me feel better. And we're calling it retail therapy. Now, let's be real about something. You're going through something and you want to buy yourself a little something to make yourself feel better. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There is something wrong with it when it becomes excessive, when it's your only coping mechanism, when you're going through a bout of discouragement, when even in making that choice to purchase something, maybe it's not something small. Again, you don't really have the finances for it, but you don't care because you're discouraged and you're just going to do what you're going to do. This is how we deceive ourselves. This is how discouragement can lead into deception, because we think these are things that are going to fix the problem, make us feel better, but it's only temporary, and then we'll pay the consequences again for it later. What else can we find this in? Failed relationships. You're in a relationship with someone and it didn't work out. You're dating, whatever it is. You're in a relationship and it didn't work out, and then you just jump right into another one. That's not wise. Reality, wisdom tells us to wait. We just went through something. We seek God for his counsel. But jumping into another relationship is our way of coping. I'm going to get rid of this heartache. I'm going to get rid of this feeling that I have right now by just getting into something else. But that is not sound judgment. Overeating. This is another big one. Being discouraged, we probably have all done it before. You're sitting there, you have the ice cream, the chips. My thing would be the gummy bears, whatever it is, and you're just eating and eating and eating and eating because there is something about eating that makes you feel better. But we also know that is not a wise choice. It'll give you a very temporary bliss. And then you wake up in the morning and you feel bad about yourself, or if it becomes a lifestyle, you're overweight, your sugar is high, your cholesterol is high, and all of these different things. But these are all coping mechanisms that are utilized not just in the world, it's also utilized as believers. This is our flesh responding. This is how we deceive ourselves into thinking this is how we deal with discouragement. Some of us, when we get discouraged, we're just mean. We're just mean. We're highly irritable. Maybe subconsciously we want people to feel what we're feeling. So we act out and we lash out on people. These are all different things that happen. And then there's also drinking. Some people will drink. I just need to feel better, so I'm going to have a glass of wine with dinner tonight. Or I'm going to have a whiskey with dinner tonight. Just one. I'm just going to make myself feel better. That's not wisdom. That's not wisdom. And this is how these type of decisions that we can make can lead into severe problems, addictions, and it can and also it can cause us to think that that's the way that we deal with discouragement. When believers, we know that is not how we deal with it. Sometimes it's just recognizing Yes, this is a temporary part of my life where I am discouraged. Yes, we gotta figure out ourselves and figure out, why am I going through this? What's going on? What am I feeling? But we bring these things to the Lord, or we seek good counsel from our leaders. We seek good counsel from people that we know love and support us, and have prayer lives that can give us good counsel. This is how you're able to overcome discouragement. Stay the course. It's temporary. It's going to go away. I tell you something personal, but I'm saying personal, but really everybody's going through it. We know financially where we are right now. It's tough financially, to put it lightly. But the stock market, has taken a hit. It's a little bit on a climb now the past couple of months. But still, it's I think they were saying right now it's at the 8th lowest time it's ever been. But previous to that, it was even worse. And I think bonds were at the worst it's ever been. I think S&P was the worst it's been since 1970. Don't quote me, something like that. But it's been very, very bad. And anyone who is vested, who has money in stocks or bonds, you've lost some money. You've lost some money, because that's just the reality of what's taken place. And that's where I am. I've lost money. I'm not discouraged by it. I have enough wisdom to know I'm in it for the long haul, so it doesn't actually bother me that I've lost money now, because I'm able to buy stocks cheaper, and I'll make out for it down the road. But the reason why I say that is because, like the financial advisor that I have, and they'll say that in this time, when things like this happen, people will get so discouraged that they'll give in, and they'll sell all their stocks. And they'll sell it sometimes cheaper than what they bought it at. And they'll just lose a bunch of money, and that's it. And then when the stock market gets back and it's better, they'll go in and try to buy that stock back. But now they're buying that stock high. Instead of just staying the course, instead of just being patient, the discouragement caused them to make a decision that was not a sound one. And maybe in the moment it felt like, oh, okay, good, at least I only lost $2,000 or something, whatever number it is. But if you staying in the market like I am, I'm losing a lot more than that. But I know I have to just stay the course. I'm not going to let that discourage me and make a decision that's not a sound one. And that's how we have to live our lives. What does Paul say in Philippians? Forgetting the things that are behind me. We recognize discouragement can be a part of life, but we're not going to make these rash decisions that will end up affecting our life, leaving even more of a negative impact on our life than maybe whatever it was that was discouraging us. And we'll begin to have this vicious cycle. So let's not deceive ourselves. Let's recognize discouragement for what it is. Let's seek the Lord for his peace, the comfort of his Holy Spirit. Let's reach out to our brothers, our sisters, our leaders to help encourage us. Let's surround ourselves with people that are going to make us smile and make us feel enthusiastic again. But let's make wise choices. Okay? That's it, guys. That's all I wanted to share with you. I'm sorry that it ended up being like this. Hopefully this uploads and everything is okay. I'll see you guys on Thursday. God bless and have a great night.